Hey everybody, welcome on a culinary journey. I'm here at the Vermont Cabinetry Design Center and we are having the best time today. You know why? Because I get to talk about pork, one of my favorite meats of all time. Why? Because it's versatile, it's cheap, and can make anything taste good, and anything that's added to it makes it taste even better. It's like the perfect date, you know what I'm saying? Cheap, versatile, oh, okay, maybe not. All right, let's move on back to food. All right, so this is pork. You actually can go out and buy a pork loin this size, and they even sell half pork loins. This is a whole loin of the pork, and what we're going to do on today's culinary journey is break it down and make 3 special items out of it using similar ingredients for each one, tasting very different. Pork Romano, pound-skewered scallopini that are going to be with Romano cheese with a spicy tomato sauce. We're going to do grilled pork chops with braised tomatoes and spinach and gorgonzola. And then finally, pork and peppers. Sausage and peppers without creating your own sausage or going to buy sausage. Incredible. All with this. This could probably feed your family for a long time. I'm probably good for 2 or 3 days with this per meal. Anyway, this is pork loin. This is a culinary journey, and it starts now. Hey everybody, welcome back to my pork loin culinary journey. Hey, you know what? This is going to be fun because I cleaned it out. I opened the bag, right? And then you have the juices coming out, so make sure you get rid of those. Open it over the sink and wash it down. And then you pat it dry. Now the pork loin comes into one whole piece. Let me show you what it would look like. All right? Now remember, I'm going to break down the pork loin into the pieces we need. We're going to lay them out here. And then, like cooking marathon, you got it, I'm going to take all that meat, and we're going to cook 3 dishes in the time it takes to do the show. Whew, I'm exhausted already. I don't know about you. But anyway, this is the way the pork loin came. This right here is the center cut of the pork loin, right? And that's where we're going to get our center cut chops or our grilled chops and our medallions. We're going to get those there. Then you go to the far ends of the pork loin. This is going to be a little bit fattier, a little bit just darker in color too. And this is where we're going to get our meat. You also can get, and I'm going to cut that down real fast, real first. Let's get part of our center cut going. Think about how much you could do here. You could do a roast on this end, right? You could just roast it in the oven the way it is. You could roast off either end, and they're just wonderful. So here's our center cut. We're going to get our medallions. They're almost going to look like steaks. We could get steaks down on this end too. Oof. I'm just going crazy. I don't know where to start. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of butterfly this open. And here we could also get our country style ribs. Right? There are things called like country-style boneless ribs, where you slow cook them in the oven for a long time. You cut them up like this. They look like ribs when you're cut. There you go. See? So if you ever had a country-style pork boneless rib, more than likely it was off the blade meat or the end cap of the pork loin. And what I'm going to do with this meat here, with keeping the fat on, fat is flavor, right guys? That's the most important thing you need to know. Fat is flavor. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to then cube it, and we're going to use this for our pork and peppers. Yeah, and I'm keeping all that fat on. Don't worry, because we're going to sear the heck out of that. It's going to add a lot of flavor. You're going to see we've got a little technique that's going to work really well with this. Now, as far as pork goes, one of the things you need to know is that you can cook it on a little bit of the pink side. You don't have to worry. You know, the trichinosis is a thing of the past. Don't even worry about that anymore. You could get it a little bit pink. I love it medium rare. So when we grill our chops, I'm going to cook them medium rare. When we do our pork medallions, I'm going to cook them like veal, and we're going to cook them all the way through, but they're going to be beautiful, tender. All right, that's enough for our pork and peppers. We got going on there. We'll save these. We'll freeze those now to do our center cut chop, or our ribs, our country style ribs. We'll put those over to the side. And then start talking about, let's see, maybe we'll do it off of here where it's a little more like a steak. Let's get in here. See, so this is the center cut where I like to get loin out of. This one's nice right here. So let's see if cameraman are going, Luca, will you please stand still? Here we got a nice little cut, almost like our center cut. We're going to do nice grill pieces. Now, one of the things about doing this chop off of here, and now guys, I'm going to mess you up because I'm going to come to this side. Hold the bigger end, right? Get a cut on either side. Kind of come in on either side. And by doing that, you know what's going to happen? Is now when I go down from the top, it's going to release easier. If I don't and I just cut it straight through the top, everything kind of fans out. And I only get that, like, the bottom piece kind of gives me that little, you get this little piece at the bottom. Here, I've already started my cut, and if it goes straight down, hugging tight, not where the knife is, you should get a perfect cut where it's thick on both sides the same way. Look at that, that's a beautiful chop. Again, leave that fat on, guys. It's really important. So I'll get a cut there, little cut there, and then I'm going to go from the top again. And we'll do 2 of these, all right? And then if you have, especially the part off of here, this is some of my favorite part right here. It's fatty, but it's still got some meat to it. It almost looks like a steak. A lot of restaurants now are even serving this type of steak, or they're calling it like a pork sirloin. And especially if you get some end pieces so it really looks like a sirloin, they'll serve you a pork sirloin. Now the last thing I'm going to do are my medallions, and we'll do it off of this piece right here. We are going to cut off some of the fat for the medallions. So I'm just going to go under a little bit and cut off some of that top fat. Now if you were making sausage too, and you were using the pork for the sausage, do not throw away your fat. That's a real big part of sausage. If you didn't know that, you know it now. It adds so much flavor, and then when it cooks down, it's absolutely wonderful. But with my pork scallopini Romano, I want those to be pretty much cleaned. Look at that, that's beautiful. It's actually great to cook with later too. That's another show. I have like 20 shows I could do with just this pork loin alone. And we'll cut off that side piece, the piece that I love when I'm doing my steaks, and then we're going to cut medallions. Now the medallions, if you're a fan of veal, right, and you say, oh, you know, I love veal, but they cost so much, and I go to the butcher, and it's so expensive. If you're breading or franchising or doing any type of batter on your veal, I highly recommend you switch over to pork. The difference is really, you're not going to notice it as much. I mean, you'll know because it's there, but trust me, they come out wonderful. And when I love pork over veal any day. 1, because it's cheaper, and 2, because it has a lot of flavor, a little more marbling throughout. So these are our medallions. We're going to pan-sear those medallions. We're going to grill our chops. We're going to take care of our pork and peppers. We have plenty more to make for another show. I see another show in the works. Hey, don't go away, because when we come back, we're not going to just cut pork. We're going to cook pork 3 different ways, and you're going to have the time of your life. So don't go away. Whew. Hey everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. I am ready to cook. Yes, I am. Finally, after all that breaking down of food there. So we broke down our pork loin into pork medallions, which I now wrapped with plastic wrap, right? And I'm going to pound them out in a little bit. Those are going to be the quickest to cook, so I'm not worried about that. Then I have my pork steaks here, or chops. We kept the fat on. We're going to season them. Oh, those look so good. I'll tell you how to stuff one later, but this, oh, so good. And then we have our pork and peppers. Now, the idea behind this show is taking all those same ingredients, right, and taking the basic pork loin 3 different ways with the same basic ingredients. So what's married with our pork today are tomatoes. That's going to be in all 3 dishes. Fresh herbs in all 3 dishes. Garlic in all 3 dishes. And we'll just change the sauce up a little bit as we go along with different preparations. First thing I want to do, and what's going to take the longest, is to stew our pork and peppers like we do sausage and peppers. So we're going to season them with sea salt and cracked black pepper gingerly, whatever. We're going to put a lot of it in there. There you go. Good thing English is my second language. There we go. We're going to mix that all up. Just like if you were doing, if you're doing a beef stew or anything like that, you want to season. Again, you see all that fat in there? It's going to take care of itself. Now, what I didn't do in this pan, and we'll come over to the pan, what I didn't do in this pan is put oil like I normally do, because it's going to make it too oily. By adding salt to the pork, what I'm going to do is just draw out some of its natural juices. And that's what's great about it. You'll see with the fat, it'll start rendering it down, and we're going to create our own fat in the pan. So we'll just leave it in there for a little bit. We'll let them sear, and we'll get back to that, and you'll just see how much fat is actually in that pan. So we're letting that sear off. That's one down. We need to get some peppers and onions going for there too, because we're going to add that after the pork is pretty much cooked. So let's get a couple of those going. All right. Now with the rest of the pork that we had, if you're doing a whole pork loin at home, it really doesn't hurt to be freezing the rest of it. Break it down, take the pork loin home on a Sunday, go to your butcher, go get the whole thing, and then take it home, break it down into what you need. Whether it's medallions like we're talking about here, a bunch of chops if you're feeding a family of 4. These little medallions go great and get frozen well into Ziploc bags. You also could put a whole roast together. You could tie a whole roast. Actually, gives me a good idea. Pay attention, because part 2 of the show, after we do this one, is going to be a roast and a couple of other things. Let's keep the onions bigger, because we're doing a little bit bigger cut on them. So we're just going to cut down the onions like that. And voila. We'll do one more. We're going to keep big onions there, because we're going to do onions and peppers, just like sausage and peppers. And if you like that, if you like sausage and peppers, you're going to love pork and peppers. And then this is going to get a little bit of tomato, some fresh herb, and that's all we're really going to need to that. We'll cut up the pepper. Here's a cool method of cutting a pepper. You just want to open it up, take out the middle, kind of lay it flat, right? Like that. Let's go that way. And then you can come right down. This is what they teach you in culinary school, how to cut a pepper. There you go. You make these beautiful, long, thin slices. The fact that I still remember anything they taught me at school is kind of scary. I don't remember being at school most of the time. There you go. I was cooking too much. There, ooh, look at that. And then cut right down the side, right? Ooh, cut the other end off, and it'll roll right out. And then you can peel off the stuff on the inside. But you know me, I don't like to waste anything, remember? We always don't waste, so we're going to use the tops too. We're not going to let them waste, because we are braising these into the sausage, which we want to go take a look at right now. Take out some of the seeds and some of the dead parts if there are ones. There we go, clean it up. Let's go check out my pork real quick, and we'll get everything else going. Look at that. That's starting to get a sear on one side. It smells delicious already. Oh, I can't wait for this. I left some of these pieces real big. You want it to cook quicker? Smaller pieces. That's pretty easy, right? More surface area you have, the quicker items will cook. And you want to make it colorful, do a couple of different kinds of peppers. In this case, I have a suntan pepper and a red pepper that I'm going to mix in. And at the same time, we're going to get our grill pan ready too. And we're going to get, you better be taking notes and paying attention, because I'm getting my sauce ready too. So the grill pan is going to be for the grilled pork, of course. This saucepan is going to start our braised tomatoes, which are going to get garlic, big chunks of garlic that we're going to leave in there so you don't eat them. Big chunks that will be sauteed tomatoes. We're going to finish with baby spinach and gorgonzola. That's going to go over that. All right, so we're going to braise them with some red wine. All right, everything's heating up nicely. We had our peppers in there. All right. Okay. So, peppers and onions. You guys ready? You ready? Let's season our peppers and onions just a little bit. Bring them to the party. Get them in there. There we go. We're gonna pretty much season and forget this. So, extra ingredients that are in here: peppers and onions. We're gonna use some onions in our braising tomatoes, which the pan's getting nice and hot, which is awesome. That's what I want to do. A little red wine. Give it some moisture. We'll check that guy out later. It's going to be a good time in there, right? Wipe everything off on the floor. Hopefully you have people that can clean up after you. If not, have your garbage can right here. That always helps. There you go. All right, here, we're going to get a little oil on this pan and get nice and smoking hot, because I really want these tomatoes to pop. You get a couple of cloves of garlic, One, ooh, that was a big one. Do not eat the garlic unless you really like it, but we're going to kind of almost pan roast that garlic, and then we're going to have it in there, and we're going to, if you want, take it out, but it's there just to get some real big flavors. This is big, this is bold, this is fun, fun cooking. Oh, let that get cooking. Give that some time. So while that's doing that, here we have our other pan, and we're going to just, again, season our steak on both sides. Another thing about cooking, whether it's pork or any other meat, you do want it to get closer to room temperature as far as where you're talking about getting to the pan. This, right out of the refrigerator to the pan, there's this big difference in temperature where we want to get it to, let's say, 140 degrees or medium rare, 135. But as we bring this closer in temperature, and I'm not saying leave it out all day, I'm saying 20 minutes before you're going to cook it, bring it out, put it on your table, cover it, and then when you're ready to cook, 20 minutes later, you're getting this closer to a temperature that the pan's going to be at. And it really does help. The juices kind of settle in. It's the same thing that we do afterwards where we're resting the meats. We want to kind of get them ready to be cooked, and then afterwards we want them to rest after they're being cooked. It's like getting ready for exercise. Rest first, exercise, rest later. Or in my case, rest first, watch TV, and then rest later. Something like that. Okay, now we got our garlic kind of roasting up really nicely. We're going to get our tomatoes in there. Big chunky tomatoes I want in there with a little bit of sauce. I'm going to tell you want that steaming up. You want them braising because I want those tomatoes to kind of stay whole, and we'll break them up later. And a little bit of sauce and a little bit of red wine. There you go. Salt and pepper, and this is ready to go and hang out by itself. If this is a Sunday afternoon at your house and you had all this going on, you know, everybody would be over. So pork, two ways going on. We're going to get this on our grill. Yeah, nice little sizzle on the grill. Perfect. Okay, so to recap before we come back, we have pork and peppers going on. We're going to let them cook down. We have braising tomatoes going on. We're going to take some of that braising tomato, and we're going to make a spicy tomato sauce from that also. I'll show you that when we come back. And then we're going to pan sear our medallions. But before we go away, I'm going to bread these quickly and get them ready for pan searing. Let's move some of you guys away and bring some of you guys here. Everybody's remembered how we do this, right? Pound it out nice and thin, and then we will pan sear everything. I'm sorry, and then we'll bread everything. A breading station includes egg yolk, flour, and breadcrumbs. But in this case, it's mostly cheese. We call this pork Romano. I put a little bit of breadcrumb, cheese, and then we're going to chop up some fresh parsley to add to that. But it's real simple. Then we're going to salt and pepper or season every part of what we're doing. There we go. And then here, we're just going to pound these out real quick. Move you over. So remember what I said about if you like veal, you'll love these? Tremendous. And if you won't eat veal, for whatever reason, if you don't like to eat veal, that's okay. You don't have to. But you say, oh, you know, I miss the idea of having a veal parmesan or a veal franchise or a nice pan-seared scallopini of veal. You don't have to miss it anymore. You can eat your pork. And it's not only the other white meat, it's the other veal meat. That was bad. Whoops. Hey, got to get you out of there first. And switch you around. Ta-da, flour, egg, breadcrumb. All right, let's go take a look at what we're doing on this side at the same time. See how our grill marks are coming. A little bit more over there. So, we pounded these out. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get one of these going. And then I'm going to get these ready for the pan. We'll talk about our sauces when we come back. We'll have veal Romano as the last item we need to cook because all our sauces will be ready. The spicy tomato sauce will take seconds. It'll be so cool. And we'll be ready to go. So that's one. I'll work on the other ones. Come on, take a look. Tomatoes are braising down beautifully. Peppers and onions are stewing away with beautiful pork, and we'll get some tomatoes in there too. And when we come back, put everything together and have a great time. Don't go away. Hey everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. I am frantically cooking pork today. Whew, I got a lot of stuff going on. Let's recap. First of all, cut 3 different types of pork. One was a scallopini, this thing. We did the chops, that thick. And then we did our pork for our pork and peppers. That amazing peppers, red wine, tomatoes are in there. We also did a little salt and pepper, plus the sausage. The pork. I keep thinking sausage and peppers. If you really want to give it that kind of Italian sausage feel, a little fennel seed in there, kind of gives it a whole flavor. That's what people are used to. I like it this way, and then we're just going to let that finish. When you do cook pork this way and you start to kind of almost boil it, what you're going to find is that you're going to need to let it cook a little longer, especially the pork at that end. And if it's not cut really thin, you're going to need to cook that a little bit longer to get it tender again. So breaking down some of that sinew and that fat gets up to temperature. Here we have some braised tomatoes. This is what I'm going to do with our braised tomatoes. This has red wine, big chunks of garlic. I'm going to steal a big chunk of garlic, and I'm going to add it to this pan, which has a little bit of butter. For those of you who haven't seen it, there's a lot of butter. And while I just leave those sitting a little bit, I'm also going to sear off my pork medallions Romano. Got to get a pan really nice and hot. You know why? Because the cheese, if you don't get it really hot, what you're going to find out is that the cheese will kind of fall off into the pan. And I'm just searing it off quickly on either side. And then once I flip it over, there we go. Then I'm just going to kind of let it sit for a second, and we'll get our 4th one in. All right. There we go. Perfect. All right, pork is searing. I don't know if you could only smell that. What it smells, it's like a grilled cheese sandwich kind of wrapped around the pork, as opposed to, oh man, what a great life I have. I get to eat all this afterwards too. Just a couple of seconds on either side, and you're going to see it nice and crispy, all right? So we got that going. Here and here I have butter, I have the tomatoes, I have garlic, I have a little cayenne pepper. We're going to make a spicy tomato sauce, right? And we're going to just buzz that up. Yeah, that's going to be gorgeous. So let's shut everything down. We got a couple more additions to add. I'm going to make that the last thing we do. I'll finish that off in a second. A couple more additions to add for our braised tomatoes. We'll put a little bit of spinach and gorgonzola, because we want to just bring out some other flavors, and that's going to go under our pork loin. And we'll get our pork on the plate. Let's see, these medallions should be coming out perfect. Check this out. What do you guys think? Is that beautiful or what? Come on. It's one of my favorite things in the world. And the pork, this pork, if it's a little bit on the pink side and the inside, that's okay. Get it to like a medium or more. Remember, that's a great way to do it. It stays nice and moist. Those medallions are excellent. Let's see how our sauce is coming out. I'm going to have to blend that just a touch more. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get our sausage and peppers in our bowl. Check this out. Did I keep calling them sausage? Pork and peppers. You know what? When they come out, almost looks like it. Look at that. Oh, yeah. I'm getting a little too excited about this dinner. That's like an Italian Sunday meal right there. Let's bring this over here, let that finish off, because that's going to go under what we're doing with our chops. Our chops came off the grill, if you can get a look at those. Nice grill marks going kind of quarter turn each time. When I was turning them over, I get the nice grill marks. We got the fat on the outside, almost like you're doing a real steak. Absolutely incredible. And you get so much flavor. But we're just going to add more flavor to that, right? Let's go and finish this one off with our braised tomatoes, gorgonzola, and spinach. Now the spinach, I use this baby spinach. It only needs a couple of seconds in there. Just kind of wilt down. And remember those big pieces of garlic? That's from my father-in-law when he comes over. The gorgonzola also gives a little cream effect to the sauce. And we're going to put that on there. Look at that. Oh, look at that. That's amazing. Right? And then we'll put the chops on it. I can't wait. I'm going to put the chops right on the top of that. That is for me. So is that. And so, well, they're all for me. And then finally, let's finish this off. What I'm doing is just taking the blender and making sure I'm grinding everything up. And at the same time, with the butter and the tomato, it's actually doing an emulsification. So we're emulsifying all that sauce together, cayenne pepper, and remember we had red wine in there, so I'm kind of letting that sauce do double duty, right? Look at that. Almost there. Be patient, don't look. There we go. A little more, a little more, a little more. Let's see how we did. So we have our, ooh, I like it. I like it. I think that's going to work for us. Nice butter sauce right over our cheese. Oh, yeah. I have all these herbs here. You might as well do some garnishing. Hey, so if you had people coming over tonight and you didn't know what to do, this is great for people who can't make up their mind on what to cook. So you grab a big pork loin, start chopping it down, and you never know what you're going to make out of it. Or if you have a family that really loves pork and you are finding different ways to do it, this is great. Pork loins are inexpensive. Go to your butcher and talk to them a little bit about it. Kind of say, hey, what can I do? What are some of the options I have? And he will tell you. Stick a Christmas tree in the middle of something every once in a while and call it a party. Whew. That is Pork 3 Ways. And please stay tuned for Pork 3 Ways Part 2, which will follow this week's show at some point. Anyway, pork and peppers. Pork over braised tomatoes and spinach and gorgonzola, and my favorite pork Romano. And I hope you had a great time, because I did. And I'll see you next time on A Culinary Journey. Whew.